that's not very loving. I'm JC Pilter, and this is JCPC Apologetics. Well, hello, welcome back to another Monday where we deal with the subject of bad arguments that I'm seeing in comment sections all over the internet. And today we're going to deal with the subject of, but that's not loving.
What's wrong with you people?
So with this objection, you will find in Christian circles, this is another one of those arguments that's kind of limited to Christian circles, and most of my bad arguments videos will be. This is a favorite, especially of people who are living in outright sin. When you point out that something is sinful, let's go to last week's thing, that it's wrong, that it is sinful for a woman to claim claim to be a pastor and to exercise authority over men by teaching them in the church. If you point something out like that, no matter how you say it, whether you say it with, growling and sniveling, or whether you say it like Joel Osteen, well, that's just a wrong thing. You shouldn't do that. No matter what method or mode you go about trying to say it, whether you are as hard as a rock or whether you come across so soft that it's hard to tell what you were actually even trying to say, there will be people who respond saying, well, that's not loving. That's just not very loving. Jesus would never say anything that was unloving. How dare you say something like that? The problem with this is the fact that, and I had a recent video on the subject of love. In fact, I think a couple recent videos on the subject of love. When we discuss love, we have to look at it from a scriptural standpoint. It says very clearly in chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians that love does not rejoice in evil. Love doesn't tolerate evil. Love points out evil and promotes the truth. It's not like it just promotes the truth or it just points out evil. It's a both and. If you love somebody, you're going to tell them the truth. If you love somebody and they're living in sin, you're going to tell them that they're living in sin. It would be unloving to be tolerant of them. But of course, in our culture, that's exactly what we think love is, tolerance. And this is seen most clearly in people who claim the name of Christ, who always scream that's not loving whenever you point out sin. And it happens literally every time. Especially for you guys, if you want to go to someplace to lose your mind, go to Twitter. Anytime a stance is taken on something, a moral issue, no matter how clear, you're going to have people in the comments section, well, that's not very loving. So, in short, this is not really a really long or in-depth video because the argument is very simple. Love does not tolerate evil. Love does not allow people to continue in evil. Even when we're dealing with believers, professing believers, when you have a guy who's living in overt sin and he claims the name of Christ, you got two things that are possible. You got a guy who's a believer, who is basically an unfruitful believer, which is kind of a contradiction in terms. If you are a believer, you're bearing fruit. This guy is either in a very bad place and is not, it's hard to tell whether he's actually a Christian or not. In which case, if you love your brother, you're going to pull him out of that mire, right? Even if he gets mad at you for doing it. If the guy is an actual Christian, he probably won't get mad forever. But at the same time, it might just be that the guy is not saved at all. That he claims the name of Christ, that he is in church for who knows, it might be tradition, it might be what all good people in that culture do. It might just be covering his bases. It could be a myriad of different things. But the guy might claim the name of Christ and be lost. Wouldn't it be loving to tell him, hey, you're living in sin, you claim the name of Christ, but you're not living like it, and possibly the guy gets saved, or the guy get mad and leave, in which case the scriptures are clear, he went out from us because he was not of us, he's not saved. In both cases, he's been warned, he's been told the truth, and either one, he gets saved, or two, he condemns himself, right? He shows that he is an unbeliever. Either way, the loving thing is to expose the fact that he's in sin. When dealing with the false teacher, which is most often when you also get this as well, this one really confuses me. You got people out there who are teaching a false gospel, and you say, this guy's teaching a false gospel. Well, how dare you? That's not very loving. But this guy's gospel is leading people to hell. Are you saying that that's loving? Yeah, but the way he says it's so nice. Well, of course. Have you talked to a salesman before? If you talk to a salesman, they are all really nice. They're really nice people. If you want to feel good about yourself, go talk to a salesman when he's on the job and trying to sell you something. He'll make you feel so good about yourself. Now, what I'm not saying, because I don't want people to take this the other way, is that we should, be those snarling, snapping IFB sort of people, the fundies, as they're often called. We shouldn't be that kind. You can speak something that's true in an unloving manner. That does happen, Just look up Westboro Baptist Church. You'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. There is a wrong way to speak truth. There is an unloving way to speak truth. But don't let the accusation of, well, that's not loving, discourage you from preaching the truth. Because no matter how you approach the subject, you will be told that you're not very loving. In fact, I guarantee you that there are people out there who would look at this video and say that what I'm doing and what I'm saying right now is unloving. That I'm using a harsh tone. You can take somebody out there who's just the softest spoken, nicest person and have them say exactly what I just said, because maybe I am harsh, I don't know. I think I'm not nearly as hard as some people I've seen out there. And I've been accused in my comments section of being too wishy-washy. So you get accused of both. But no matter how soft spoken, how nice of a person you get, if you say something that's truthful and factual, pointing out sin, you will get accused of not being loving. That's not an argument. If that's your go-to defense of your pastor or your false teacher or your anything, your sin, that's not very loving. That's not an argument. For example, I point out to you, sir, I've noticed that you lie a lot. Just last week you told me that, that they had a sale going on for tacos down at Taco Bell, and I went there and it wasn't there. And when I pointed out that was not true, you just laughed and walked away. And the guy goes, well, that's not very loving of you to say that to me. Does it change the fact that the guy's a liar? Does it change the fact that the guy lied? Well, of course not. Even if I did say it in an unloving manner, does that change the fact of what is actually true? No, it doesn't. When you're dealing with a subject, changing the subject doesn't defend your position. If you're defending a biblical position and a guy makes a good point and you say, oh, that's not very loving the way you said that, did you defend your position? No. What it actually looks like to me, because whenever I see a person say this, and most often it's true, what it looks like is, wow, I lost that argument. Man, I have no idea what to say to this. You know what? Discredit the guy. A little ad hominem. You know what? You weren't very loving the way you said that. That might have been true, and I even hear this sometimes. That might have been true, but the way you said it. I think Christians need to learn to toughen up a little bit. And certainly we should watch our language. We see in the book of James how the tongue can get us in a whole lot of trouble and can do a lot of damage to people. But at the same time, when you have people that respond to every sort of rebuke as that's not loving, then the guy's not, that's not an argument. That's not a defense of a position. And of course, in this segment of bad arguments, that's what we're dealing with, right? If we're going to have a discussion, if we're going to have a beneficial discussion, we need to stick to the subject. Changing the subject, accusing people of having wrong motives, or accusing a person of having a bad attitude about it, that's a legitimate thing that you can bring up in Christian circles, because certainly we need to have the right attitude. But when it comes to that argument that's being made, how about you finish defending your position or surrender if you can't? Maybe you're wrong. We have to admit this from time to time. And then you can deal with the non-loving thing at a later time. Probably in private, that would be a better place to deal with such a subject. But with that said, I hope that's beneficial to you guys. I'm going to wrap her up right now. That's about the extent of what I had to say. But if you have stumbled on this video for some reason and you have stuck around all this time and you do not know Christ and you are not a follower of Jesus, or maybe you think you are a follower of Jesus and you need to examine your faith to see whether you're in the faith, right? That's a command of Scripture. I recommend that you click over to this video that I'm going to leave linked at the end, and it's going to be called What is the Gospel? And in that video, I will explain to you what the Bible talks about when it refers to the gospel. And we pray that by the grace of God that you will be saved this day. With that said, God bless and have a great day.
What's wrong with you people? I'm serious.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below and feel free to like and share it so others can see it as well. Also, subscribe so that you can keep up to date on future videos. And as always, please check below to see resources that I've used that might help you to further your studies. God bless and have a great day.